It's Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary. We've come a long way, but apparently we're better together. It's a momentous occasion. Happy Independence, Nigeria. Welcome once again to the program. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kayode Okikulu. I know a majority of Nigerians remember 64 yeyears ago, particularly young people. They remember that they were not present then when Nigeria gained independence, but you're present right now. And we've listened to President Bola Tinubu's nationwide broadcast in commemoration of Nigeria's 64th independence celebration. Quite a number of things the president said in that 23-minute long speech. And he started off by acknowledging the struggles of Nigerians. That was where he picked up from, saying that I'm deeply aware of the struggles in these challenging times, rising costs, search for employment. So it was an acceptance of the reality of things. That's how the president picked up that speech. And it sort of went on that trajectory. The president talking about his government's commitment to finding sustainable solutions to alleviate sufferings, saying that the reforms are showing positive signs and light at the end of the tunnel. But this speech from Bukola was heavy on the reality of things in the country today. And the president tried as much as possible to absorb all of that energy and say, well, I'm listening, we are listening to you. But then when you now break down the speech, which we'll do in the coming minutes, you get to see some of the details in the presidential's.
And it was quite reassuring on how important the reforms are and the fact that, as a result of the necessity of the reforms, we are definitely going to come out of this current challenge. But the president apparently did not put a timeline to how long these necessary reforms will take. But it's also instructive to note that the president also acknowledged the fact that, well, maybe not the fact, but the position of the administration that we're going to not just lead Nigeria out of this current challenge, but we're leading Africa out of poverty, and that is quite significant. And it will be one of the things that we may be holding the administration by, as we continue to assess its programs and policies. But Kari, perhaps one of the most important things of the president's speech is the inclusion, the announcement of a 30-day conference for the Nigerian youth, during which there would be collaborations on education, technology, innovation, on how the youth can be part of, governance, and of course, taking the youth generally to the next level in their projections.
Absolutely.
Really, yeah.
And this is what the president said about the National Youth Conference. I think that for a lot of people would be the biggest part of that speech, saying that National Youth Conference is meant to provoke meaningful dialogue and empower young people to participate actively in nation building. He had said that there is no building of a future without the young people as the architect of that future. 30 days? Well, we'll see how that goes, but 30-day confab to unite young people to develop solutions on issues, as he said, such as education, security, the economy, and the rest. And he says that the modality will be decided by young people in collaboration with their representatives. The president did not give a date, so we don't know if this will happen this year, next year, or sometime before the end of his first term. He didn't give a date, but he says that there will be a National Youth Conference, and he said that this government will consider and implement the things that come out of this conference. But a lot of people will naturally say we've had confabs in this country, Bukola.
And where did it lead us?
Where did it lead us?
Where's the document of the confab? Has it been implemented? So a lot of people may want to look at the announcement of this youth conference with some skepticism. But of course, we must also proceed with a healthy dose of optimism to see what exactly the plans the administration has for the Nigerian youth. And, they just may have been peeping into our notes for today, because we plan a big conversation for the youth. But speaking of what the administration is doing currently to tackle the challenges, it is noteworthy to hear that the president says that, they're winning the war against insecurity, banditry, and there is that strong hope that following the return of many people to their communities, agriculture will resume, and then there would be abundance in terms of, food security. Yeah. So we're hoping that indeed we're going to see that in the coming days. And the president also talked about the economic reforms, the monetary policy reforms, the fiscal policy reforms, they're necessary and generating results. But we're yet to see the results.
So let us know what you think about the president's nationwide broadcast. It's Independence Day here in Nigeria. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. Let us know your thoughts on that. He gave figures, by the way, regarding security, saying that in the past few months, over 300 Boko Haram bandits, kingpins, and their leaders have been eliminated. And that's why he said that his government is winning the war and people should be returning to their farms, and hopefully the prices of food items will crash. He also talked about the economy, as you said, essentially saying his government has been trying to fix things that weren't done well by the previous administration. He didn't say that explicitly, but when you see that, it says they've had to pay back $7 billion inherited backlog, the ways and means. A lot of these things happened during the previous administration. So he tried to make a case for his government, saying, we've been trying to clean up a lot of mess that we met on ground. So he said some things without saying them. About 23 minutes long, that speech, and that will form a major part of our conversation this morning, particularly because this speech was heavy on young Nigerians, which make up a huge chunk of the population. We have our own mini confab, Bukola, of young people to review the president's speech. How much of hope did you get from that speech? How much of reassurance did you get from that speech? How well did that speech address the issues on the minds of Nigerians? How well are you hopeful that, some of the things said will be implemented? These are some of the issues Bukola will be looking into.
And, the mantra of the administration is renewed hope. So did you feel some of that energy of hope from the president's speech? And what areas gave you hope that indeed, we're going to get out of this current economic crunch? Let us know. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. Speaking of some of the things that the president said, Kadi, I don't know if you also heard it. The president also talked about how the monetary policy management is ensuring stability in the foreign exchange. Well, some may disagree with the president. Let's know what you think. The president also said, if I didn't miss it, that the administration has cleared the ways and means of about 30 trillion naira. That's also significant. And he talked about the economic stabilization bill that the Federal Executive Council has approved, that it will ensure economic vibrance. Of course, in the coming days, that will also form some talking point as well.
It's a second Independence Day speech.
Yeah.
Definitely. A lot of people were looking forward to hear some things. And as we said, you should let us know. We'll break these things down. Some people got honors, by the way. The Senate President, the
Deputy
the
Senate
CJN, and others got national honors. He talked about local government autonomy. So we'll really break these things down for you so you understand where this government is headed. It's the 64th Independence Day celebration. I know a lot of young people clearly were not around 64 years ago, but you're around now. And the president has said you must be architects of your future.
Leaders of tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is today now. So let's know what you think. Are you excited about being one of those architects at that confab that the president announced? What are your own ideas? Perhaps you could begin to, set an agenda for the administration and perhaps see that maybe your thinking is in line with the thinking of the administration as well about what this confab will look like. 64 years ago, Kadi, where were you?
Clearly not there, but I'm here right now. We'll take a moment on the morning brief. It's quite a package that we have for you, breaking down the president's speech, looking into the future and ensuring that we all do right by Nigerians. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us. It's a morning brief. Well, the president's speech was heavy on young people. So let's find out what the young people think about President Bola Tinubu's nationwide Independence Day broadcast and the current state of things. They may not have been around 64 years ago, as I said, but clearly around right now and in the coming years. We're joined in our Lagos studio by Wisdom Chap Jumbo, who's a politics and governance analyst, a member of River State Youth Parliament, as well as Babashola Owaje, who's a political scientist, PDP candidate, Lagos State House of Assembly, Koshofe Constituency 1, a business consultant and strategist. Gentlemen, welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cardi.
And happy Independence Day to you.
Same to you.
Same to you, too.
Oh, and happy new month.
Happy New Month.
Oh, I see. So it's like double
celebration.
Exactly. And we enjoy our greetings in Nigeria.
Yes.
But let's dive deep into what the president said this morning. Quite a number of things. 23 plus minutes given that speech. And he was quite heavy on young people. But I want to get a general sense of what you think of the president's speech in general. Did it address the issues in your mind? Did it address the current challenges you're faced with? Did it ignite some level of hope or renewed hope, as the case may be? So across those metrics, what's your impression of the president's speech? I'll begin with Wisdom and then come to you.
Okay, thanks, Kayode. I think for a change, if we look at when he gave the speech during the bad governance protests, and now, what I see the difference now is he seems more in touch with the reality of what Nigerians are facing. Like, he started his speech with, acknowledging that he knows the cost of things are going up and they're suffering, So he acknowledged that. It means that he realizes that, okay, this is a reality for Nigerians. And I think going further, I think the part of the speech I loved so much was, that confab of the youth. It's time we listen to the young people. It's time we put them in a room. It's time we listen. They're 60% of our population. But we don't do well to listen to them a lot, and the best of us, most especially. So I think that confab would change a lot of things. Put the youths in a room, 30 days, keep listening to them on different issues. And we hope that it will not just be a conference for conference sake. And some of those conversations that will come up, we have the assurances of the president that he is going to implement. I mean, he is known for implementing a few things and listening to the people when the time calls for it, which is what we have seen. But we want to see how this will pan out with the conference that is coming up. It's a very bold way to, what are the youth saying about the issues? What are the solutions? And it will be good for them. I mean, organizing this confab to able to engage a lot of youth organizations across the country, starting from the National Youth Council of Nigeria, all different parliaments, the different states, be able to draw these ideas from the different youth groups so that we know we have like a good, spread of.
So did it ignite hope for you as well? That was part of the question.
I think it did.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how?
I'll leave it at 7.
7.
Yes.
Let me come to you.
Yeah.
Your general sense of it across those metrics.
Okay. Naturally, I'm a very optimistic person. Regardless of however the president put it, I always like to see the cup half full. However, where I have a bone to pick is the 30-day confab. Nigeria has had a history of having conferences, documents printed out, but no implementation. That's one. 2, when you say you want to put youths in a room for 30 days, my question is, 1, are they not employed? 2, do they not have businesses? What would you expect them to do whereby they will leave their business, they will leave their jobs, for 30 days to come and discuss what might never be implemented? We've had a history. We've had precedents where, these things were set up and nothing happened. I mean, there are a lot of reports that we keep saying they should be implemented and all of that, but it never comes to light. But I like the fact that the president didn't give a date, so I'm sure he will go back to his people and have a discussion on whether that is really, really going to be feasible.
You think this was not well planned?
I don't think
maybe the subsidy is gone kind of line?
I don't think it was well planned. I don't think it was well planned. You have to look into who are the people that will come for this confab. If you talk of people that really have a say, trust me, they will be busy and they would not have that 30 days to
but
give
it's for the good of the nation, for the good of the future of the nation.
We've tried, right? Maybe we've not done enough, but youths have tried. Youths have come out. And there's a way youths are seeing it now whereby I don't think they would want to put all their eggs in one basket for 30 days, where they'll talk about the country and, end up saying that maybe when they are 30, 40 years after their reports or whatever they did in such conferences is not implemented. I don't see lights you know. However, there were other highlights of the report, of the speech, that gave some hope. I know the fight on insecurity is gaining ground. We can all attest to the fact that, you know, we are gaining traction in trying to curb and end banditry and insecurity in the country. More can be done, right? But other than that, I believe that, you know, the country is where it is. Is there hope? Yes. But I would say this is hope that comes from within, not necessarily from the president's speech.
Well, that's profound, and you know, it's interesting that it's a mixed bag for you. But let me come to you now, Wisdom, and I hate to puncture your own optimism, but if we looked at this speech critically, particularly the part where the president announced the holding of a youth confab, I wonder how well-intentioned it is, particularly because I'm wondering if this is a strategy to rechannel the energy of the Nigerian youth, you know, stemming from the last administration where there was a nationwide NSAS, hashtag NSAS protest that gained momentum, and we have seen a resurgence that perhaps was not on the same scale as the NSAS protest. And in fact, today there's supposed to be a protest as well. So is it a strategy to rechannel the energies of the youth? And when you say that, you know, it's high on hope for you, and that it's an acknowledgement of the policies that Nigerian, the high cost of living. It's the same president, you know, that said after the conclusion of the Edo State election, you know, that the victory of the APC is testament to the support of Nigerians for the reforms. So that's a bit of a contradiction for me. I want you to speak to these issues.
Well, first of all, let me pick from the concerns from my brother here on the issue of having these conferences in the first place. Remember the 2014 confab by President Goodluck Jonathan? We've not even implemented all of those things there to date. So there's a genuine concern there. But I want to say that we have to be optimistic when we look at some of these things and look forward. I'm not the greatest fan of the president in the first place, but I want to look at how we would need to address the issues, you know, the country is facing as we go. I mean, 30 days might not be a realistic date. I mean, I don't know what they have planned for all of that. But if you look at what happened in Edo and what the president, I'm not in his mind, so I don't want to say he's trying to divert or, you know, distract us from that. But maybe the people around him are giving him some assurance that because of Edo win means that everything is okay. I'm not sure what they are making him believe. But I want us to focus, you know, and see how can we solve the issues head on. The conference is long awaited because, number one, we have the End SARS protest, we have the End Governance protest. What you can see from all of this is that the young people want to be heard. The young people, they want to speak. The young people, there's an issue, you know, from police brutality to bad governance, the cost of living. There's a solution somewhere and they want to really be heard. So this is an opportunity for us as young people to...
So is it an opportunity or is it a way of the administration saying, let's keep them busy and keep them off of the streets protesting?
If that is the thought of the presidency, trust me, they might just be mistaken. Because the set of young people we have, trust me, we are very knowledgeable and we know what the issues are. We know when our government is telling us a lie. We know what to do if it is a lie. So the presidency should be watching. You know, they should be, you know, careful how they handle this. If this conference is coming from a genuine point, then it's a welcome development. We come to the table, you know, and engage with our leaders and put the solution forward on issues where we think, you know, these are some of the solutions that should be, you know, should be actioned upon. But if this is with the wrong notion or with an intention to distract, they will not be distracted. I'm not sure this is just set of young people we have today, though, because the issues are so many. The suffering is biting everybody. In fact, when we begin to address some of the issues, we'll come to energy, for example, now, and the band A and the power issues, everybody is suffering this. What can we be doing? Some of us have argued that the discos are not, you know, engaging well with the stakeholder engagement before putting people on band A. Where should we address that? Where are those? Because some of us will also want to be on the table where we have those conversations for the energy and power issues. Why are you putting people on band A? Wake up one morning, your whole area is on band A. Nobody notified you. So there are just so many issues we need to address, and I hope And that's why I'm being optimistic that the presidency is approaching this with a genuine heart to engage with young Nigerians on what are the solutions to what are the problems, what are the solutions. And then we want, like the president said, he has given us assurances that things from these conversations will be implemented. We want to hold on to that assurance, and we hope the president will not fail us on this. And I hope that's where we are going to look at it from. So that's why I've been optimistic.
And so for you, Nigerian youths cannot be deceived, whichever way. Because let me come to you, Papa Shola. So are you reading between the lines as well in the same breath?
Well, as a political scientist, you have to look at what's going on in the mind of the president, what his behavior is at the moment. There's a probability that he said these things because of where the nation is right now, and he said it because, okay, I think the people need to hear this. One thing I'll give the president is he has people that talk to him, and based on some of the things he does, you realize that he listens or is in touch with reality compared to past administration, past presidents, where they're not really in touch with what is going on. So when we talk about reading between the lines, I think, like you mentioned, it's an avenue to see how they can channel the energy outside. Youths are burdened. Youths are discouraged. I mean, we see the Japa wave and all of that. You see people trying to channel their energy in saving themselves instead of saving the country. And one of the reasons why I contested is because I want to be counted as someone that tried to save the country, but it's not the avenue, the environment has not really been that conducive for youth, especially to be in governance, especially unless they have, one or two links or, referrals from godfathers and all of that. But beyond that, I believe that, the president should mean well, even though I don't believe in the essence of the gathering. We condemn people that go to the Big Brother house and do all of that for that amount of days, and you want to put people in a room for 30 days. It doesn't show, the economics of it doesn't even show that we actually know what we want to do. You want to listen to people for 30 days. So what next?
Okay,
I believe that something should have folled.
Pardon me, I just wanted to add that what if they were going to be paid for 30 days? We've seen the national confab, how delegates,
from whose budget?
Given some form of allowance.
That's even worse for you, right?
From whose budget? Because you have to pay them. It's not going to be free. You're going to gather them in Abuja, because that's where the confab will most probably take place. Abuja. So you mean you're going to gather people from the 36 states of the federation on taxpayers' money to do what? To talk. We've been talking, right? There's been spaces where we've tried to make our voices heard, and at the end of the day, what happened? So if you say you're going to have a confab, fine. To what end? You want to listen to us? Okay, to what end? What would happen? So you come and if you're definitive and you say this confab will happen on so date, and we are going to implement it in so time, and whatever is ratified at the confab will this. We will not start to have the blues of 2014, where our elder statesmen and fathers and mothers gathered in Abuja. Until date, the only thing they have to show for it is the documents they took out of the place.
So let me get your thoughts on this, both of you. You clearly are against the 30-day confab.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what you then propose instead of that. I think the goal is to listen to young people, ensure that they come together, and this gathering provokes solutions to the economy, security, and the general future of Nigeria, right? That is the purpose. And I imagine everyone agrees that we need to have something, some sort of conversation. So what would you propose? Would you propose to do it virtually, or send your, suggestions by mail? What else, or which other way do you think the president should approach this?
So I think we should decentralize it, right? Have it state by state. And whatever we come up with should be sent to Abuja. And the reason is because...
For how many days?
It doesn't need to take 30 days for us to be heard. Whatever we need to say can be said within a week, within 2 weeks maximum. Because at the end of the day, the issues are out there, we're talking security, we're talking food security, social security, we're talking the economics, we're talking job security. I mean, all of these are the front burners. He talked about, the growing cost of living generally. These are the things that people will come and talk about. Now, if you tell us to come and prefer solutions, the solutions are out there. It's just the willingness of government and governance, to implement this solution. So I don't think we need 30 days. That's my point. Do we need to speak? Do we need to be heard? Yes, we do. But do we need to gather physically for 30? The world is a global village now. I don't think we need to. There's nowhere in the world that you would have people gather for 30 days to discuss national issues. I don't think it's something that is viable anywhere in the world at the moment.
Okay, for me, Kayode, I think I agree with him. We don't need 30 days.
How many days do you think?
But we have not heard what the plan of the presidency is. They just said 30 days. So let's not preempt. We don't know what the plan is. But if I will suggest, my suggestion would be that the presidency should leverage the Ministry of Youth. And the Ministry of Youth Development should be able to go across the 36 states. Probably that will take them the 30 days. And in each state, they convey, a gathering of young people. And that will be, decentralized into different groups, come together at the state level across 36 states to engage. And then there should be a more stronger presence of the presidency there in those gatherings to be sure that, these, conversations will be heard. So when we go to each state, as the way we decentralize it, you begin to engage the youths in these groups for each state. And then you see that in 30 days, we can go around the 36 states to get the opinion. So we don't all have to convey in Abuja, because I also get the consent from him. If we all have to travel to Abuja, that is who is going to pay for all this money. But when we go to each state, we engage each groups. In each state, from the National Youth Council of Nigeria, for example, we have each chapter for each state. Each state also has a parliament, like for Rivers State, which I'm a member of. You write to groups like all of us. We gather together.
So you're already pitching your own group to be a part of it.
Yes, because that's where to engage.
Some would also say, I'm hoping this is not some sort of distraction.
Yeah.
Right. So you divert people's attention. So everybody's talking about, this youth confab, this is how we should do it, this is how we should not do it. And you know how things are, or could be in Nigeria. For the next 2 weeks, everybody's talking about open letter, dear president, this is how we should be. People are talking about it, and there are challenges facing us. So some might say, I'm hoping this is not some sort of distraction. So while we'll talk about some of the other modalities for this youth conference, confab, 30 days, whatever, let's, come back to the other issues. I know, Bukola, you wanted to raise some things.
Well, I just wanted to ask you very quickly that if the administration decides to go on with a 30-day thing as planned for the youth conference, and you are concerned, and rightly so, about youth leaving their, means of livelihood for a whole 30 days, and these delegates from across the country are paid, would you consider it an inducement to keep Nigerian youths off of the streets and, ending any kind of protest? Would you consider it an inducement, using a kinder word?
Like he said, where is the presidency going to get the money from, even if they want to pay? Is it in the budget that they are presented? That is one. Two, why are you paying for this? Why do you want to pay people for it?
That's if they plan to pay people.
That's if they plan to,
which is most likely a given.
Why
considering 30 days?
But if we say whatever money will be released is really to mobilize people to a venue for each state, which of course we know, because of how the economy is, youth will need money for transportation. They will need to get buses to convey them to a central location for each state, as I earlier suggested. That could be a way. If that is what they want to do, okay. But if you say you want to pay these young people to come and, say, most people will have that concern. Is it an inducement? You don't need to do all of that. And most of us will even further be concerned. Where is that money coming from? Because if you calculate any amount you want to pay them, multiply by 36 states, that is a huge amount of money. Is that in the budget? If I was in the National Assembly, that would be my first.
The answer is, the question is, would you consider it an inducement? And would you be surprised if that would be an end to protests across the country?
I think I'll consider it an inducement.
All right.
Or appeasement.
Whatever title we give it. But if it's to mobilize, if it's money to mobilize people to a venue for this to support each youth groups, to mobilize them, I don't think that's an inducement.
So there's a lot more
Yes.
to really talk about in this speech. 24, 23 plus minutes in this speech. And naturally, the youth confab, as I said earlier on, will take a huge chunk of people's attention because something new.
Yes.
Again, the president gave national honors, Senate President, CJN, and all of that. I think it's very interesting that he announced it in that speech. But we'll look away from all of that and go deep down to issues that now concern Nigerians. The confab is in the future. We don't even know if it's this year, next year, in the next 2 years.
Give a date.
It didn't give a date. So we'll turn our attention to those other issues when we return from this break. So gentlemen, please stay with us. We'll expand the conversation and ensure that all voices are represented as Nigeria marks 64 years since independence. It's a big day in Nigeria. So be a part of the conversation. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. We'll be back in a moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back to the Morning Brief. It's our Independence Day special. 64 years after Nigeria gained independence. How far have we come? I don't know if it's fair to ask, how long more do we have to get there? But maybe we can ask. We still have with us a panel of young people. After all, the president said that young people must be the architects of their future. Wisdom Chap Jumbo and Babashala Waje are still with us. We'll expand the panel very soon. But gentlemen, I've asked that how far have we come, really? And I want you to speak to it from your earliest memory, right? There's a tendency to want to go all the way back to 64 years, but that's for the president and those in his, age category. We can speak from the Fourth Republic, or at least 10 years before that. So I'd like you to give a general sense, because this is not just about the president's speech. This is about nationhood. And he said that we're still on the way to building the nation, nationhood. And some people will ask, first, let's measure how far have we come so we'll know how much we have to cover. So, gentlemen, your thoughts. How far have we come? I'll begin with Wisdom, then come to you.
Okay. Kind of a fantastic question. How far have we come? I'm a lover of history. So when I started, getting interested in politics, after my uni days, I began to go back into time. What used to be like, in the days of our fathers and forefathers. If I take you back to 1960, some of the issues that were issues in 1960 are still issues till today.
All right.
Some of the issues or some of the problems that we had at the beginning of the Fourth Republic in 1999 are still problems till today. What are they? There's corruption, there is bad, no electricity, there's bad roads, there is, so all of these are still issues today. The only thing we've succeeded to have had progress on is our population, our numbers. The numbers we had in 1960 as a population is not what we have today, same thing in 1999. But as our population continues to grow as a people, we have continuously failed in leadership to provide the right leadership for the country. Every single election cycle, you see that our leaders keep promising the same thing over and over again, and we don't see, a progress in it. Corruption has even gotten worse in 1999 the way it is today, even after having institutions like EFCC, ICPC, and all of that. In 2015, a government came, and what they wrote on as campaign promise was corruption will go away. Corruption will do this. But we can see even after 8 years of that government, corruption even got worse. Our corruption index globally, the numbers are not even getting any better. So I don't think in these areas, especially, and we can tie all of this back to leadership, we have not been able to give this country the right kind of leadership it needs. And all our leaders need to agree that they have continuously failed. That's why young people of today have lost hope, they've lost trust. If you walk on the road and you speak to your fellow young people, in 2023 election, together with my colleagues in the Global Shapers community in Lagos, we went to each tertiary institutions in Lagos to talk to our fellow young people to register for their PVCs and make sure they vote. I'll tell you, one school we got to, they nearly beat me up. They said I should just disappear from here. Which country? Their vote does not count. If you go back to 1999, and if you go back to even the 2007 elections, you will see that the same issue, our votes don't count. You understand? So we have failed continuously in leadership. And I don't think our leaders are even giving us any courage that things are going to get better. We have to be very honest with this.
So rather than a confab for youth, you'd rather these issues are fixed before the confab?
No, so these issues, we're also going to bring it in the confab.
So we can do it concurrently or in the same...
Yeah, so but regardless of all the issues, I'm someone who is optimistic. That's what I'm saying. I welcome the idea of the conference.
Right.
We're going to bring these issues to that conference even more strongly. And this is the time for our leaders to redeem themselves. Okay. If there's any form of redemption.
I promised that I would not go back to the conference, but it looks like this will be a general thing. Because some will say yeah, we have other avenues, other institutions that should be dealing with these issues. I mean, why do we have the National Assembly, the state assemblies, and the rest? But again, I promised that we'll leave this confab aside. So how far have we come for you?
I mean, we're talking independence here, so we can move away from governance a bit. Growing up, what did we have? You know, moving from when we didn't have phones to the introduction of the GSM, everybody has a phone now. You know, we've moved in technological advancement. Unfortunately, the quality of living is not as it was when we were growing up. I mean, I don't need to go down memory lane, how we grew up and we played on the streets and all of that. But one of the things that has really struck out, you know, is continuity in governance. So we've seen past governments, both at the federal and the state levels, you know, discontinue whatever their predecessors started with, or tweak or reshape, you know, something that was maybe bound to give us some form of leeway in advancement in the country. And what I see also is the fact that, you know, back then, a lot of the older folks, you know, were involved in nation building and nationhood. But the youths of nowadays are discouraged, you know. One of the reasons why I contested is because, I mean, during the NSAS protest, I realized that it's better to, you know, make your voice heard in government than out of it. Because we made noise, we came out on the streets and all of that. And in one night, all of that energy was quenched, you know. And I tell people whenever I have conversations like this, see, it's okay to talk, but do something, you know. There are a lot of people that commentate on issues that deal with the nation and all of that. But when you ask them, what political party do you belong to? What's your ideology on nationhood and nation building? They don't have any. So the country is going towards, should I say, a situation where youths are discouraged to come out and even help in nation building. You know, the wave of people that travel out, it didn't used to be like that before when we were growing up. You know, we just had 1 or 2 cases, but now we're there in the thousands. Embassies are overworked. Schools, they are reaping the benefits of our problems here. And at the end of the day, something has to be done. The youths have to wake up because the older folks, I mean, they're on their way out. You know, if we're coming in, we know that we have to buckle up and, you know, and get involved. Yeah.
You know, we could just progress from that point and talk about what the youth need to do to wake up. Kadi, I hate to disappoint you. We have to go back again to the subject of that confab.
It's inevitable, almost.
Inevitable, right? I'm glad to announce that I'm not going to be the only female on this panel now, as Honorable Natasha Osawaru joins us. She's a member, Edo State House of Assembly, a member representing Ego constituency, and she's the Deputy Majority Leader in the Edo State House of Assembly. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program. I'm hoping that you've been following right from the start, starting with the President's Independence Day speech. And one of the things that we've very quickly picked up on is the announcement of a national youth confab that will run for 30 days, during which the youth will dialogue on issues affecting the myriad of issues: education, innovation, technology, and the likes. The president has said that he wants the youth to be the architect of the future. I would like you to talk about that. We've had quite a number of things to talk about on that, and of course our reflections on how far we've come as a nation. So over to you now, Honorable Natasha.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well.
So, I didn't follow up from the beginning. I had a meeting by 6 a.m. that lasted to past 8. But I'm happy that I was able to make it to your TV show. The youths are the voice of Nigeria. So anyone who doesn't know that at this point is on the way to failure. And if the president did say, I haven't watched the speech, that the youth something, whatever, I am all about the youths. And in politics, the youths are taking over the space heavily. I'm excited because no one is giving up again. And our voices are being heard. I heard the last speaker. We're not just talking. It's hard, it's difficult, but we've infiltrated the space so much that I could be in the House at the age of 28 last year. And it was very difficult, but yeah, it did come to pass. And it's been a hell of a ride, but we'll keep pushing. Thanks to the president for giving the youths another chance to showcase our talents, and by God's grace, God will see us.
I'm going to stay with you for a bit. We've had a lot to say about this proposed confab. We've talked about how we've had past conferences in the country and the resolutions have never seen the light of day. We've never seen implementation, and some have thought that, maybe this is not such a well-intentioned, project anyway. Perhaps it's to, rechannel the energies of the Nigerian youth from constant protest, and for some, there's optimism about the objective of this confab. So if you were to propose what the youth should be saying, the components of this confab, what would your proposal be for this confab, this proposed youth confab?
I would say first, we need to put our house together. We're having a youth confab where we're speaking and we're not being heard. I'm not throwing jabs at any institution. It's more or less like throwing your words into the air, The only advice I have for Nigerian youth at this point, there's a certain point you get in government that you're going to be able to effect change the way you actually want it. Because I came in for various reasons. And reasons I came in for are kind of almost like a blockage. I can hardly break through it. But if we keep talking, I never gave up. I never gave up. I was told to step down. I was told to do, you can't win, you're too young, you're this, you're that. But I think I'm the most intelligent at this point. And if we keep pushing, they would eventually, you can't kill the masses. I really feel like we're the problem because we have so much use. It's just that we give up so easily. The truth is, if we keep going, our voices will be heard. And mine is more or less like more inclusion of the youths in politics and not shutting our voices up. I think that should be a major conversation at the so-called confab, and telling the government to let the country run without oppression. Because the youth wing, we get so much jabs, so much jab from our peer pressure, friends, family, all of this. And now government is always trying to oppress us. So mine is more like Edo State for a while, where I'm a member of the House of Assembly, like you said, has really changed. It's very It's easy for you to contest, live in the space, just be happy. Because, I mean, two things were against me, being a youth and being a woman. And then my governor came out and said, any woman that's contesting and any youth, I'm coming there to contest with you. Just give me a little bit of, strength. And if everybody else had good governors and governing their states, before we talk about the federal level, I'm sure we should.
Let me come in here. Quite a background you've given. And just before you joined, we had talked about some of the elements of the president's speech. And I understand you didn't catch that because you were in a meeting. Right.
I did.
Right, you did. Great. So let's speak to this point. They have said that it's really tough for young people to be in government, right? And I think it was Babashola who said, well, for a lot of people that are in government, young people, is because they have someone holding their hands, godfather, I hope I got that term correctly. Basically someone helping you out. Is that your story on the one hand? And I think you've referenced that, but we'd like to know what your story is. Maybe that can serve as some sort of inspiration or an eye-opener to young people so you can give them that toolkit. This is how I did it. Do it that way. That's on the one hand. The second part of the question is, you've said that young people are also the problem, or at least the people are the problem. Is that because you're now in government? That your opinion has now changed? Because for a lot of people, they're always like, well, it's people in government, our leaders. We have a leadership problem. So is it because now that you're part of leadership, you're like, nah, we can't just be the problem. It is everybody. Take your fair share. Those two issues.
Okay. First was my joining, right? Okay. It was difficult. I know. Everyone thinks because I come from a big family, it was just put out there and just carried me from my house and dumped me on my seat. Hell no. I went through hell. It was a hell of a ride, but then it was worth it. And, I'm not blaming people for and leaving government out of it. I'm telling people that we can change government if we stay put. We can't just start something and after 2 or 3 days of protest, we just sit and say, okay. I mean, there should be change before we stop. I can be on the street 7 days protesting and just take a water break, So I'm not really like on the government side of it. If I was, I won't be in government. I came in to change because it was too nasty of a space for me. I came in to effect a lot of change, but I'm not at the federal level. I'm at the state level, and I'm doing as much as I can here. And by God's grace, when I'm getting to the federal level, we'll have some better change in government and leadership over there. I mean, it's for me, I just want a better country, a better Nigeria. And I'm doing the bit I can in Edo State for my constituents. So while I was doing my elections, it was shut down. The opposition party tried to rig it, and we shut it down. And then we went for a rerun, made sure it was free and fair, had the TVs on the whole time, INEC bottles, internet blasting, because like what happened to Edo elections recently, you realize that there wasn't, most people complained of the internet who are young. This is what I'm talking about with the youths now. Turn on your hotspot, bring your Wi-Fi, make things easy. These are things we are used to doing. So it's sad that someone would tell us that whatever they were using failed when we know we are very intelligent. I mean, we're technocrats. The 21st century youths are quite different from how they were in our mother and father's time, And it's in the house itself. After getting in, it became easier. I have very, very good members as teammates.
Right. And so you're saying, in essence, that you're not a part of the problem. When people say we have a leadership problem, you're not a part of that.
Am I?
A very interesting way to answer the question. It's usually yes or no, right? But you ask me the same question. But let me come to the studio and ask the gentleman. I don't know how well you resonate with her point. Now, I won't say on the other side of the divide, because I think it's very tricky to say us versus them. We're all one. We're meant to be one. It's out of us that the leaders emerge, right? So to that extent, she's in that sphere, in that space, right? And she's saying these things. Do you guys resonate? Wisdom, Babashala, do you resonate with her point?
Okay. You want me to go first? Okay. All right.
I'll have said ladies first, but you're both men, so please go.
I think, first of all, as a young person, to get into any political office is very difficult. I say this firsthand because, of course, I've been part of a political campaign media team for 2 election cycles. I've been part of the political party before. I'm in a political party, and I see how these things play out. It's never easy. But at the same time, when you get in, it seems like a lot of the young people forget the struggles to come in. And when they get in, they've forgotten the whole matter. They begin to do their own. So that's where the problem is. It's never easy, which is one of the reasons, and I'm sorry to disappoint you, Kayode, we need to bring to the table.
The confab again.
At the confab. How can we make the process much more easier for young people to come in? Any young person you see in office today, if they tell you their story, how they got in, we want to shed tears. I'm sure he can share more on that because he has contested, and we are hoping that some of us, when we will contest, by the grace of God soon,
it will be tears of joy.
It will be tears of joy, Kayode.
But there'll be tears nonetheless.
But tears of joy is much better. So my point is, it is not easy. And when we say leadership failure, we're not trying to pick out one person and target that person. We are saying, when we look at collectively, all our leaders, I have been part of local government, and I've been part of people that have been advocating that if the 774 local governments can work, we begin development small by small from that level. To be a councillor is not even easy. Not all of a member of a House of State Assembly, but the local government needs to work. Do you know that the local government has its own budget? The local government has its own a local legislative assembly that approves the budget of the local government chairman. You understand? Let's begin to scrutinize things from that level. Let's begin to see how we get more young people at that level. I'll tell you one thing now. The said local government election is coming up in Rivers State by next weekend. Go and check how they all selected.
Well, it's meant to be the 5th, this weekend.
This week.
This weekend.
Yeah, this week. Against all odds, against what the law is saying and all of that. But the point I'm trying to make is, go and see how they selected all the councillors. There was no proper process to it. That is a problem. You understand? So if you don't know any godfather today inside the River State government house, you can't be able to get into any local council position. And that is not good. It is not the precedence we should continue to set. So all of this, together come up to make up why we say there's a leadership failure. What is the process to recruit leaders, into these different political offices? How are we checkmating that process? Should we continue to make it selection? Or should we now make it, a free and fair process, open? What is the law saying on it? This is where the law comes in. This is where the National Assembly comes in, the State Assembly comes in. How are we making the laws to this effect to make it easier? And then, please, our people should listen and obey the law. That is where we have another problem. So these are some of my own thoughts on this. And
So as we wind down now, some of the things that Wisdom has said, they're quite instructive. And Babashala, you have contested before. How can young people begin to position themselves to scale these hurdles of, I have to know a godfather before I can become a candidate for a councillorship or a local government chairmanship position, or the amounts that I'm spending to become a State House of Assembly member is too expensive. Perhaps you want to tell us, what investment you put in to contest and all of that. So how can young people scale these hurdles?
Thank you. I've actually contested twice. So the first time I contested was for councillorship. And I used, let's call it a zero party, because I was more or less the only member of the party in my local government. But I came second. right?
Wow.
In the elections, yeah, I came second after APC. And we have other, political parties that contested. And one of the things I championed then was that if you want to pick your leader, if you want to pick your representative, compare, look at the people around, look at the candidates that have been put up. The APC candidates, the PDP candidate, and the other parties, put us side by side. If you can, call it debate. Let us hear them speak. A lot of people were like, why are you going for councillorship? And I'm like, why not? That's the problem. We leave politics at the grassroots for people that shouldn't necessarily be the ones handling it. That's what the problem is. So you see a situation whereby the selection process or the election process intra-party is handled by people that shouldn't be handling it. I mean, when I contested, in the House of Assembly, it was obviously bigger. It was a bigger platform than the first time I contested. And what I realized was there's always the issue of you fighting the enemy within your party before you even come out. So you're saying, let us go this way. I believe this is the way to go. And there are people that are saying, no, we should go this way. It's general. It happens in every political party. Another thing that I realized was the amount of financial resources that goes into elections in this country. It is not encouraging at all. I always tell people that if you don't have a day job, if you don't have a second job, you shouldn't go into politics. One of the reasons why I, didn't get, should I say depressed after the elections was because I had a job to go back to. It's very important for youth to not see politics as a major source of income. It is not a source of income. You would spend money, you would most probably sell off properties. And that's the reason why godfatherism exists, because if I don't have to spend my money, somebody would sponsor me.
Like your angel investor of sorts.
Yes. So if the investor,
Right.
if the investor puts in the money, he expects a return. It's not because he wants the nation to be better. So you see where the problem starts from. So at the end of the day, we see situations whereby people that want to get into leadership by all means start to change, their behavior, their patterns, their way of thinking and talking. Immediately they cross over. Growing up, I used to love a certain Labour Congress leader, from Edo States. The way he spoke back then was someone that made me to believe that, if you actually put your feet on the ground, you can achieve something in this country. But immediately across to the other side of, the divide, to the other side of leadership and governance, I mean, you would try to look at the videos of before and the videos you see now, and you can't see the same person. We've had cases of, foremost lawyers, activists that were actually, noisemakers that just went quiet immediately they entered governance. So, I mean, one of the prayers I pray is whenever I enter governance or a position of leadership, I don't be that person. It's very important, to have your ideologies in set before or whenever that happens. And for that to happen, there are some certain sacrifices you have to make on your person, on your ideologies, on your beliefs, which makes it difficult for youths, especially youths, to come into places of leadership and governance.
Wow. So many things to reflect on based on what you have said. By the way, if you had gotten a godfather, would you have changed in just a few words?
Or an investor.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why I didn't get any.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have your last words now, Honorable Natasha. I'd particularly like you to speak to some of the things that Babashola has said, the hurdles that are before Nigerian youths as they try to get political office, and how they can scale those hurdles.
Hi. Hello. Okay. So I particularly really like that last speaker. He's so intelligent. I just kept watching in awe. Beautiful. So you have some things set up wrong, and I would like to straighten it out so that it doesn't set you up for failure. I don't know how it is in your states, but like you said, politics starts from the grassroots. And in Edo, I haven't faced godfatherism like you have. I have I have faced fairness in government. I have faced trials and tribulation. But then have I overcome it? Yes. Is it easy? No. That's the thing. Politics is not easy. So it's more or less like you trying to gun for something great in life to, that you now have a lot of destinies on your palm. So apart from you being in the physical, you should also realize that you will now be teleported to the spiritual. Because everybody now looks up to you. You have a group of people looking up to you that you're supposed to, we pass bills and create laws. So I would tell you that the easiest way to help youths, just like we did in Edo, 60% of the house were youths. So the best way to help youths in the whole country to kill this godfatherism in other states and, is to get it passed into law. Just like 30% of women should be included in politics. And I'm sure we have that. It's just a check from me. Yeah? Then if we don't, or we have it at a low level, let's try and get to the National Assembly, discuss with them, and push it up. There's always time for there's always like a clean slate to negotiate. And if they don't listen to us, we'll push harder. Me, I'm a fighter. And that's why I got here. I fight. So if you fight and sleep, then you don't fight. I just keep fighting till I get what I want.
So keep fighting. That is like the motto for the rest of this year. But when you say you didn't have a godfather, I remember earlier on you said that the governor had said that any woman who is running, we're going to run together. So isn't that like godfatherism? Someone who is much more powerful, who has much more resources, much more clout, essentially holding you by the hand and say, I will take you there. You said that.
Darling, that's not godfatherism, that's good governance. Because the governor himself, he knows how the country is when it comes to women or youths. So the fact that women want to come out, and he knows, I won't call us a weaker vessel, but like it is from our creator, we are. Women in politics, we tend to face a lot of jabs. Like I tend to face a whole lot because I'm a woman and I'm young. Him coming to my local government to help me campaign, he did it with everyone. But there was a little more interest on saying, listen to the women, listen to the women. I want more women. He was so intelligent to realize that women just bring a certain mix to the table and make it better, And I thought, me sitting where I am today, it's all God. It had nothing to do with my family, my governor.
Right.
It has everything to do with my willpower. Not to stop. I don't stop.
We'll need to go on a break now, but hold on to something. Keep fighting, willpower, and you've added God to it. We'll talk about how far we have to go, because the conversation is split into bits. We talked about the President's Independence Day speech, how far we've come, and then how far we have to go. Those things we have to start looking out for, so we don't lose sight of our future. After all, it's our future. We're the young people that would stay in that future. But that's in a moment. We'll also touch base with our correspondents across the country, see how Independence Day celebration is going, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the show. It's Nigeria's 64th Independence Day celebration, and for some reason, the youths are carrying the day as it should be. So we're hoping we can translate this into reality, not just in the speech, in the promises, but in the reality of things. But let's take a look at what's happening across the country. We're joined by our correspondent, Kelly Giga, who is in the Ikeja area of Lagos this morning. Kelly, it's Independence Day across the country. What's happening right there at Ikeja on the bridge where you are?
All right, Kayode, our exact location is Ikeja Under Bridge here in Lagos, Nigeria. If you're familiar with this part of Lagos, this is a very busy area. It's just that it's a public holiday, and that's why it's not as busy.
Our correspondent Kelly Giga.
To areas such as Allen Avenue and outside that. But guess what? Nigerians are out here trying to make their voices and demands heard right here on
Not to worry, what you're hearing there is, well, the ambient sound. People showing their grievances. So while there's been the presidential speech, we'll see state governors also give their speech and maybe the parades and the rest. There are people who are on the streets making demands for better governance. You may have seen on the placard demand for wage. But we'll get back to our correspondent Kelly Giga to walk us through what exactly is happening there, what the demands are, who is organizing this. So we're going to ensure you get all of the information you need across the country. So let's touch base with the economy, because it's a major part of the conversation as well. And the president said there cannot be economic growth without peace. So let's take a listen to that, and then we'll rejoin our panel and speak with our correspondent Kelly Giga. Take a listen.
The economy is undergoing the necessary reforms and retooling to serve us better and more sustainably. If we do not correct the physical misalignment that led to the current economic downturn, our country will face an uncertain future and the peril of unimaginable consequences. Thanks to the reform, our country attracted foreign direct investment worth more than $30 billion in the last year. Fellow compatriots, our administration is committed to free enterprises, free entry and free exit in investment while maintaining the sanctity and efficacy of our regulatory processes. This principle guides the divestment transaction in our upstream sector, where we are committed to changing the fortune positively. As such, ExxonMobil surplus divestment will receive ministerial approval in a matter of days, having been concluded by the regulator, NUPRC, in line with the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. This was done in the same manner as other qualified divestment approved in the sector. The move will create vibrancy and increase oil and gas production positively, impacting our economy. The more disciplined approach adopted by the central bank to monetary policy management has ensured stability and predictability in our foreign exchange market. We inherited a reserve of over 33 billion 16 months ago. Since then, we have paid back the inherited forex backlog of 7 billion. We have cleared the ways and means debt of over 30 trillion naira. We have reduced the debt service ratio from 97% to 68%. Despite all this, we have managed to keep our foreign reserve at 37 billion. We continue to meet all our obligations and pay our bills. We are moving ahead with our fiscal policy reforms. We stimulate our productive capacity and create more jobs and prosperity. The Federal Executive Council approved the Economic Stabilization Bill which will now be transmitted to the National Assembly. This transformative bill will make our business environment more friendly, stimulate investment, and reduce the tax burden on businesses and workers once they are passed into law.
Mr. President there delivering his second Independence Day broadcast, and he's spoken about the economic policies. Of course, you know, the young people too are featuring prominently in that speech, and we've been scrutinizing that part of the president's message to Nigerians on this 64th independence anniversary. We'll touch base yet again with our correspondent Kelly Egiga, who is right now at Ikeja on the bridge. Of course, we saw him earlier, but we'll be able to speak to him now. Hello again, Kelly. Talk to us about what the people are saying on this momentous occasion.
All right, Buki Kayode, again, good morning. I'm not sure how much I let out there earlier before we had to go off. But basically, our exact location is Ikeja under bridge. It's really a very popular area. It's an area where there's a lot of traffic on a normal day, but it's because it's our independence, that's why somehow there's a public holiday. But I mean, just my back here takes you to the very popular computer village, and then somewhere that way takes you to areas such as Agidingbi and Ogba and all of that. But right here at the Ikeja under bridge, Nigerians, Lagosians are out here trying to make their voices and grievances heard. And perhaps we can just do our viewers a 360 of what we're talking about here. For instance, just before we get to the protesters, there's a heavy presence of security officers and agencies right here. The police is right here on ground. The PRO police is just behind me. I've also seen the commissioner of police. Remember, there's a new sheriff in town. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a new CP. He's also on ground trying to assess the situation, and we'll get him to speak to us very, very quickly, as much as we can. But just to my this extra part of my right now, if the cameraman can also pan and let our viewers all around the world take a look at the number of persons who have gathered here at the Ikeja under bridge. It's been a very, very heavy task for the security agencies to try and ensure that there's a free flow of traffic. They are here on ground. They are trying to make their grievances heard. They have complained about the cost of living crisis. They are also complaining about the cost of fuel right here in Nigeria. People are also talking about the wage, the minimum wage, and the fact that it's not being implemented just yet. So generally, that's what it is here. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of frustration and desperations indeed for Nigerians who have gathered here this morning to make their grievances heard. Remember, there's also the fact that one of the trends on Twitter or X is the fact that if you've been following the trends, guys, in August, when we had the August protests, what was trending on Twitter then was the hashtag End Bad Governance protest, hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria protest, cost of living crisis and all of that. But one of the trends on social media for the past 24 hours or even 48 is the fact that there's also the hashtag Fearless in October. And so some of the protesters here have been exercising that fearlessness, the fact that, look, they are saying that they are resilient, they cannot be intimidated by the heavy presence of the security agencies here on ground, the NSCDC, Lagos Neighborhood Watch, the police, the army, Operation Mesa has also been on the ground patrolling this area for quite some time now, and they've been just making that demands and trying to ensure that, look, there is their human rights to protest, and it's their human rights to ensure that they get to make their grievances heard, and of course across board. But let's give you a feel of how the protest is, because any moment from now, this protest is going to take a walk, a march to the very popular Ojota area. I mean, you remember the August protest, that's where it held. So any moment from now, the protesters and demonstrators are going to take a walk, a march to Ojota. I'm sure precisely the Gani Fawahimi Park, and we will definitely be on ground and we'll take that walk with them right here from Ikeja to Ojota. Back to you guys.
All right, Kelly, we'll touch base with you yet again, but, you know, it seems quite a turnout if anything we're seeing is to go by. Our correspondent there, Kelly Egiga, reporting from Ikeja on the bridge on this Independence Day. I will return to the studio now, and I'm wondering what you think about the a turnout of the protests, particularly coming on October 1, Independence Day. What does this say about the progress that we've made in the last 1 year?
Having a protest on Independence Day is very significant. It more or less connotes that there is a problem. It shows that, the people are not feeling the joys of independence. It shows that people are still in shackles, when we're meant to be celebrating independence. And the problem now is we're not independent from poverty, from hunger, from insecurity. Those are the things people are fighting against. It's quite sad where we are at the moment, but one of the things I always champion is the fact that the major way we can change governance is through the ballot box. Where were we during elections? What did we do? How did we participate? Because once every 4 years, you have a chance to be in governance because you have the power of the ballots. That is the greatest tool to effect a change in democracy. Protests are okay. Protests are good because one of the things it does is that it makes people in government to be aware that there's a problem. It's like a shock. It's like sending shock waves, to the government, and the Constitution allows freedom of gathering,
Absolutely.
freedom to gather, and freedom of association.
So
yeah.
I know there's a lot to say, right? Because we've had challenges for years, so it wouldn't take 2 hours to even scratch the surface on these issues. But as we wind down, I'll come to you, Wisdom, and let the Honorable have the final say on this one. But your final words, really, there's been a lot. But what is that one thing that you probably expected to hear that you didn't hear? What is still outstanding for you? And I think that's a good place to even anchor. So we can also look and say, okay, we've talked about these things, but these things are still left undone. So what is that one thing maybe that you didn't hear in that speech and you've not seen the government addressing well enough?
Okay, thanks, Kayode. Two things probably I didn't hear is, which of course is our pain point at the moment now. He just mentioned he acknowledged the suffering, but the things that are making us get the bulk of the suffering is one, fuel. The cost of fuel is high. I didn't hear anything definite on what will happen to reduce pump price. What is this?
So he avoided that.
So yeah, the whole fiasco with Dangote and NNPC, we didn't hear anything on that. The cost of power is high now. Many communities have been, protesting on the cost of power. They put them on Band Aid. They never informed them.
Right.
Band Aid tariff are really high. They're struggling businesses. We didn't hear specifics, on power, power generation and all of that. What is going to happen in that mix? I didn't hear. Thirdly, I didn't hear. We've continuously had issues with the rule of law, justice.
Okay, so three things for you. I asked for one, but you gave us three. Thank you for your generosity. Let's allow Honorable Natasha Sawari to have a final words on this one. I know a lot of people have been asking, how did you raise funds for campaign and for election? That's something a lot of people have been asking, right? They want to know. But your final thoughts on this as we wind down for you as Nigeria celebrates 64 years since independence.
Hi. Back again. So, my final words are, the country was, still is, as I can see, deeply, it's sad. And I actually wanted the president to speak more on getting food palliatives. People are hungry. People are so hungry. So I thought maybe he'll be like, okay, because we can afford it in this country. We're very rich. And I just, even if it's 7 days, of food palliatives, just give out. Let people eat. Because I don't even, don't have numbers on the streets because people are hungry and weak. You can't protest if you've not eaten. And Nigeria has never been like this. For you to make such a drastic change, let's say we see where you are going with the country. But for you to make a drastic change like this, you must realize that it will it will hit your citizens
All right.
hard.
Very important point you made there about food. The question will then be, what are states going to be doing as well, local government? But very instructive points you have made. And I want us to do this as we wind down. There's this beautiful piece of Nigeria's national anthem. It was done by the City Choir. We'd like you to take a listen to it and call it a day on the show. There you have it. City Choir, led by Shalom Matthews, fantastic work. We'd like to thank our guests, our young people panel, Babashola, Wisdom, and Honorable Natasha. We wish you the very best. And that's where we anchor on the show today, Bukola.
Yes, indeed. City Choir, a story of resilience, a story of creativity is the Nigerian story. And that is how we want to be inspired and how we're leaving you today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Independence, Nigeria. I am Bukola Kilka.
And I'm Kayode Okikilu. Goodbye.